Welcome everybody to Brands Hatch, the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, playing host to the Mini Challenge, the JCW category of the Mini Challenge, their first of 2 races today, about to get underway, and a championship battle that is starting to hit fever pitch now as we get down to the business end of the season, where every point now starts to matter more and more, and we've got a fascinating 3-way championship battle that's developing between Nathan Harrison and James Gornall, with Dan Zelos slowly creeping into the picture. Dan Zelos is on a phenomenal run of 6 consecutive podium finishes in the last 3 meetings, and he is also the man that starts on pole position, so looks set to continue that trend. There is the grid then, scrolling through the bottom of your screen. Dan Zelos on pole with Nathan Harrison, the points leader, alongside him. James Lukes is third with Lee Patterson, one of his best qualifying efforts of the year. He's on row 2 with him. Then James Gornall, so of the 3 championship contenders, he's the one that's a little bit further back in 5th on the grid, with James McIntyre, another good effort from him, he's 6th. Harry Gooding and Richard Newman also qualified really well. Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit seeming to suit maybe some slightly different drivers this weekend. Tom Rawlings and Rory Cuff round out the top 10. Then Brad Hutchison and Ben Palmer. Ben Palmer 4th in the points, 3 times a winner this year, including here on the Indy circuit a few weeks ago, but he's down in 12th on the grid. Callum Newsham and Matthew Wilson are next, then Max Bird and Lewis Gaylor. As we get into the middle of the grid now, James Griffith and Neil Trotter are on the 9th row together, with Josh Stanton and Stuart Gibbs rounding out the top 20. Then it's Jonathan Benson making, I believe, his first appearance of the season. Jack Davidson is further back than you might anticipate, 22nd. Will Hardy and Lewis Brown, another driver very much out of position. Lewis Brown right at the back after some struggles in qualifying. Then you've got Keenan Dole and William Newnham, both of whom have 10-second penalty and start from the back of the grid. And that will be, he says, oh yes, practice times were disallowed. So not even qualified times, but their practice times were disallowed for a technical contravention. And so they have to start right at the back of the grid. So, points-wise, Nathan Harrison, after qualifying, because you score points in qualifying, 6 points for pole, 5 for second, 4 for third, and so on. The top 6 score points after qualifying. So Nathan Harrison leads the way on 515 points. Second place is James Gornall on 494 points. So, by my reckoning, 21 points behind, although I'm prepared to be wrong on that. Dan Zelos is on 451. Of course, he scored more points than anybody yesterday, but needless to say, you score more points for doing well in a race than you do for doing well in qualifying. There are also bonus points available for setting the fastest lap in the race, 6 points for the fastest lap, and again, similar system to qualifying. The top 6 fastest laps of the race will score you points, so we'll try and keep an eye, one eye on the timing screen, one eye on the racing, and another eye on my calculator, which as we get into this part of the season starts to work overtime to try and figure it all out. But it's a fascinating racing prospect, and even if you ignore the championship situation, the racing in the JCW class of the Mini Challenge is some of the best you'll see in the country. A one-make series for these 2-litre turbocharged pocket rockets, the closest thing you can get really to a full-blown touring car without spending about £300,000 to buy one. These cars certainly don't cost you anything in that sort of a region, and producing about 265 brake horsepower, these mini twin-power engines into the pit lane. Now, they're the 2 cars that were due to start at the back. One of them, I think, is Keenan Dole, and yeah, the other one appears to be William Newnham, so they're going to start from the pit lane with their 10-second penalty. All set then for the first of 2 races today on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Dan Zelos, the green car on the left-hand side of the screen, needs a win really to try and claw back a little bit of this deficit that he's in the championship. Nathan Harrison alongside just wants a clean race, and if he can, to beat James Gornall and Dan Zelos as well. Ready to go racing then for 20 minutes around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Who will get into Paddock Hill Bend first? That could be critical on a circuit that's not all that easy to overtake on. Quite a long hold here. The green flag now has been waved at the back of the grid, and we are now ready to go. Rev start to rise then Mini Challenge, JCW action gets underway, or will do eventually. It's a really long hold again. The red lights are on. They go out now. Away we go. And it's a good start made by both of our front row men, actually. A good start as well for James Lukes, the blue car from the inside of row number 2, but he can't quite get up the inside of Nathan Harrison. So grid order for the top 3 or 4 around the outside is going James McIntyre, though. From the 3rd row of the grid, he's already got himself past championship contender James Gornall. And now he's going alongside Lee Patterson for 4th. And he may even go for 3rd round the outside of James Lukes. That's been a phenomenal start by James McIntyre then, who's the first car on the outside line at Druids. He won't get into the podium places, but he is 4th, and it's all going horribly wrong for the yellow car of James Gornall, who loses another place now to Harry Gooding going into Graham Hill Bend. All sliding out wide, that's James McIntyre and doing all of his hard work after that brilliant start that he made. And now he's on the outside line, down into Surtees. They bunch together hard on the brakes, one of the slowest corners on what is generally a very high speed and flowing circuit. Onto the back there is Jonathan Benson after not a particularly storming start. James Gornall then, the yellow machine, can't really afford this. He needs a good result here, and he's on the outside line going into Hawthorne. He's already dropped down outside of the top 6. He's going to lose another spot now because, or in fact fails to reclaim his spot from James McIntyre, who does now settle back in line ahead of the early season championship leader. James Gornall was dominant at the start of the year. It took him a while to win. He won the first 2 races, sorry, but then it took him a while to win again. From Snetterton he won, and then he won again here a few weeks ago at Brands Hatch. There were several months in between and several races in which Nathan Harrison started to win races as well. Side by side for 3rd there as they go through Surtees corner. James Gornall is watching his big title rivals streak away up the road. He's going up the inside again. He's going to try and get past Harry Gooding, whilst James Lukes does lose 3rd and loses control of the car almost. Goes out into the gravel trap, and James Lukes, after that brilliant qualifying effort, unfortunately it comes to naught. He'll rejoin, but well outside the top 15 or so. So James Gornall now needs to try and find a way past these 2 cars and get into clean air, because he's right in the hornet's nest now where anything could go wrong. And he's got another car around the outside. That's McIntyre again, who does like that high, wide and handsome line through Paddock Hill Bend. James Gornall just desperately trying to keep the car clean, but with Dan Zelos and Nathan Harrison already 2.7 seconds clear of this lot, it's not working out well for Gornall, who has now lost 5th position again to a sideways James McIntyre, who's already had probably the most exciting race of anybody. Gornall's back up the inside of him into Surtees, though. James Gornall, a committed move there, but he knew he had to get on with this, and he'll, I'm sure, force the issue on the exit of the corner as well, which he does. Closes the door, and he's back into 5th position. So this train of cars then is being led by Lee Patterson in 3rd, with Harry Gooding 4th, and James Gornall back into 5th position now, with Tom Rawlings also a part of that battle pack. So Tom Rawlings has had a good start from 9th on the grid. The inside there goes the 44 car, that's Max Bird. He was fending off Lewis Gayler on that occasion in their battle towards the back end of the top 10. Dare I say it, then things may have just settled down for a split second. Through Sheen Curve again. There, James McIntyre then, having started the race 6th, finds himself in 6th again, but he's been in pretty much every other position within the top 10 already in the first 2 laps of racing. Back underneath the circuit access bridge they go, into Clearways corner, a full commitment, right hand of the road, plunges away from you on the exit of the corner. Look at the lead though that Zelos and Harrison have got here, already streaking away. The gap's gone up again by another full second between 2nd place Harrison and 3rd place Lee Patterson. Then it's Gooding, then this man James Gornall through Paddock Hill Bend, drop down the other side on this roller coaster of a circuit. Even the slightly more technical Indy part of the circuit that they're on now is still a real thrill ride. Side by side, just behind them, that's Tom Rawlings and Ben Palmer, I think. So Ben Palmer started in 12th position, he's already into 8th. So Ben Palmer there, the red and black car that's applying the pressure to Tom Rawlings in front of him, has had really a very good start in this race. And he's now trying to continue this progress. Palmer, as I said, has won 3 races, did the double back at Silverstone midway through the year. He's on the grass now, though, but he's not the only one, in fairness. Runs out wide. Now that will get dirt on his tyres and cost him momentum down the hill, so the blue car of James Lukes might be able to attack, but I don't think he's quite close enough in the end. Yeah, but Palmer, with that double win at Silverstone, really brought himself into championship contention. His season started in the worst way possible with a non-finish in the first race at Alton Park, and then only managed to salvage a 13th place in race 2, so he didn't really score that many points at all at Alton Park, but then since then has never been out of the top 6. So after the iffy qualifying session yesterday, oh, that's McIntyre off, James McIntyre off, going into Sheen. How on earth did he end up there? That's an odd place to go off. There surely must have been some contact there. So James McIntyre then after a real up and down race. Sadly, it ends on a real downer. He's in the gravel now. Might that require, I suspect it will require, in fact, a safety car interlude, and that is disastrous news for Dan Zelos, who's nearly a full second clear, in fact, 1.4 seconds clear now. Nathan Harrison, oh, there wasn't contact. He got a wheel on the grass going into Sheen, which is easy to do, in fairness, because the road keeps bearing to the right, and you're not really focusing on the left-hand side of your car. You're focusing on the apex on the right-hand side. Easy to drop a wheel on the grass, and off goes James McIntyre. Lucky, actually, the car didn't dig in and roll. And now, yes, if we need a safety car here, this is not good news for Dan Zelos. He's 1.4 seconds clear. There he is of Nathan Harrison in second, who is 4.1 seconds ahead of Lee Patterson in third. So a safety car is the last thing that those two want to see. It would be ideal for Lee Patterson and everybody else who's in the queue behind him, because they'll be able to close that gap back down again. No confirmation yet of a safety car. They might be able to cover it under a live snatch, which is the preferable option, I'd say. Lewis Gayler, by the way, is being given a 10-second time penalty for out of position start. There we go, live snatch at turn 7. That's good news. So no need for a safety car. We can carry on racing. And in a way, actually, that's quite good news for James Gordon, because he is now really starting to apply the pressure to Harry Gooding in front of him, who bounces his way through Westfield Corner. Very easy to run wide there and leave the door open into Sheen, but he knows that that's not really an issue now, because there will be double-waved yellows at this corner. Sheen curve, because of the live snatch that's in operation. It's Harry Gooding's best finish of the year so far. I think it was a 7th place back at Snetterton, but he's only had a handful of top 10 finishes, 4 in total, and 2 of those were 10th. He's had a 9th and he's had a 7th as well. So Harry Gooding in 4th place at the moment, by far and away on for his best, possibly best ever finish in the JCW class at the Mini Challenge. He's now feeling the heat from the man who's second in the points, and who is 3 times a winner already this season, James Gordon. Tom Rawlings is there too. There's James McIntyre being recovered now from the Sheen Curve gravel trap. Tom Rawlings he's had a couple of top 5 finishes this year, a 5th and a 4th earlier on this year. He's looking for his 3rd of the season then, if he can get past one of the 2 cars in front of him, and he's not really too fussed which one that is. Right now it's James Gordon that's in his sights. But Palmer seems to have settled in line in 7th now, with Rory Cuff in the blue car showing as being in 8th position, which he is. Then Richard Newman and Brad Hutchison next in line. This is Max Bird at play again with James Lukes this time. This is Lukes trying to take 13th place away from him, and it looks like he might do it, but now the safety car is being scrambled. So we thought we got away with it, but they are going to scramble the safety car, because we've got another car off now, and that's Will Hardy at Paddock Hill Bend, and that car is very close to the edge of the road, too close to be recovered with a live snatch. How did he do it? Oh, there may have been some assistance there. He was battling away with Stuart Gibbs, who had lost some ground from where he'd started, 4 spots in fact. Having started 20th, he was 24th and trying to take 23rd away. They were separated by less than 2 tenths at the line, so can't confirm anything, but I would suggest there may have been a little nudge there. But as to whose fault it was, we can't say. It's certainly not going to help Dan Zelos, who crosses the line, the race leader still, yes, but by a significantly reduced margin now. Nathan Harrison is going to close right onto his rear bumper, and perhaps most significantly, so too will Lee Patterson, Harry Gooding and James Gordon, who suddenly has an opportunity to really eat back some time now and maybe be able to challenge for a podium before the end of the race. You score 50 points for a raceman as well, so race victories are really very, very significant in a title battle like this. Interestingly, yes, James Gordon, you dropped your 2 worst finishes as well throughout the year. James Gordon had a non-finish back at Silverstone, and that will therefore already be his drop score used up. Nathan Harrison also had a bad Silverstone where he finished 23rd, so drop scores don't even really come into play. This is a straight fight between them. Dan Zelos has actually been the most consistent of the 3 title contenders. He's never been lower than 8th all year, so he's actually dropping more championship points, if you see what I mean, than the drivers that he's racing for the championship with. Another replay of the Gibbs and Hardy incident at Paddock Hill Bend. Is there damage maybe on the right rear corner of that car? No, it's in one piece. It's just very much beached in the gravel trap. You can see there that the gravel does its job though, because the cars are moving at a fair lick through Paddock Hill Bend, and it didn't get very far into the gravel trap before it stopped. But it is sometimes a little tricky to get the cars out. But I'm sure any of those marshals who have been posted at Paddock Hill Bend before will have dealt with 1 or 2 cars in that gravel trap over the years, and I'm sure they'll be well versed in how best to move them. Shout out to all the marshals as well. The Orange Army, as ever, doing a fantastic job. The volunteer marshals who do this for the love of the sport and nothing else, and without them we couldn't enjoy motor racing, so thank you to each and every one of you, and lots of them required as well to fill all of the marshals posts here at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, and there are a lot of them around as well, so thank you very much to all of the hard-working marshals already being put to work with 2 cars in the gravel trap in this race. We even had an Aston Martin to recover from a gravel trap in the British GT warm-up session this morning. Usually the marshals have a fairly easy start to the day with morning warm-up, but they've been thrust straight into action with our first couple of sessions on the track today. As you can see though, very speedy recovery of Will Hardy's car from Paddock Hill Bend. I would assume that the James McIntyre car at Sheen is almost out of the way as well now, so I'm going to tentatively predict we'll get 1 more lap behind the safety car, so that will leave us with about 7 minutes of racing left. So what's that, 3 or 4 laps basically we should get in, depending on how quick this particular safety car lap is. The last one was 2 minutes and 30-ish, so we'll be looking at something similar I'm sure here. So points, what about fastest lap? Because I said that there were bonus points for fastest lap. Well, Dan Zelos at the moment is on for a maximum points haul. He qualified on pole, that was worth 6 points. He is leading the race. If he wins, he'll get 50 points for that, and at the moment has the fastest lap of the race, which is another 6. So he will score 62 points out of this race, which is an awful lot of points to walk away with. Nathan Harrison, on the other hand, will score 44 for finishing in second, and his fastest lap is a 37.1, which I think is the second fastest lap time as well, so he'll score 49 points in total. That means it's 13 points less though than Dan Zelos, so Zelos is set to continue to close this margin. Zelos is also, by the way, looking for his first victory of the year. He's been remarkably consistent. He's had 2, 4, 6, 7 podium finishes, but never has he been on the top step of the podium this year. And Dan Zelos will be wondering now exactly what he has to do to win a race, because this safety car is certainly a fly that he did not need in his ointment, but this is, I'm sure he's got the pace to at least manage the gap here at the front, but whether he'll be able to pull away again, well, we're about to find out, because the safety car lights are off. It has vacated the scene, and we are about to go racing again with, look at that, about 7 minutes left on the clock. See, I can count. And Zelos with Harrison, well, not right on his rear bumper actually, he's been caught napping a little bit there, so a good restart by the youngster. And Dan Zelos, former Ginetta Junior and Renault UK Clio Cup star, is already bursting clear at the front of the pack. Harrison's built a bit of a cushion over Patterson in third, so again the real fight is going to be the one for the bottom step of the podium, I think, as we go racing once again in the mini challenge. Into Paddock Hill Bend they go. Already some side-by-side action further back, but you're not allowed to overtake until you cross that start-finish line. Don't think anyone did though. Paddock, oh, Ben Palmer having a look, in fact having more than a look, he's going through on the inside of Tom Rawlings. That was a really cheeky move, but a nice move there by Palmer. Can he complete the job though down at Graham Hill Bend, because now we've got to turn left, and that favours Rawlings on the inside line, up over the curb, and Ben Palmer, they rub, they lean, there's going to be more contact if they're not too careful. They're still side by side, and Rory Cuff could benefit from this, and he's trying to. He's going up the inside of both of them, 3 abreast into Surtees, doesn't often end well, and I think that yes, Cuff's gone past the pair of them. Fantastic stuff from Rory Cuff, who goes from 8th to 6th, simply because he read the situation in front of him perfectly, saw that they were so busy battling with each other that they'd completely forgotten there were any other cars on the track, and Rory Cuff is able to take full advantage. James Gornall now trying to find a way past Harry Gooding for what would be a very significant 4th position. It would be worth an extra 3 championship points, and with things as tight as they are at the top, those 3 points could come in very handy come Donington Park at the end of the year. It's also really tightened up at the front of the field, because in the first sector Harrison was about half a tenth quicker than Zelos, but in the middle sector he was 3 full tenths faster, so he's closed the gap right down to the race leader. And Tanzilos's first career victory in the mini challenge may not be a done deal just yet. Down into clearways they come, nose to tail, 5.25 minutes still left on the clock. 3 cars then scrapping for third place behind them, but they're not quite as close as these two. Game on then, I think. Nathan Harrison doesn't really care about Tanzilos's prospects of winning his first race of the season. He is far more interested in taking his 4th victory of the year, and off goes Zelos off wide at Paddock Hill Bend, and he's thrown away the race lead. I don't believe it. Dan Zelos runs out wide at the first corner and hands the victory on a plate to Nathan Harrison, who in the end had life made very, very easy for him. Through goes Harrison, and Dan Zelos will be absolutely furious with himself in that car. Here's a replay. Does he lock up on the way in? It's a very bumpy... I think he lost the rear, did he? I think the rear of the car started to slide, and he did very well to keep it out of the gravel trap, as we now get another safety car period as well, and that's why there are 3 cars off. Oh dear. One of them is Tom Rawlings, one of them is Brad Hutchison, and the other one I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark and say may well be the number 21 car of Jack Davidson, because they were all coming from, they were all racing at the back of the top 10 together. And the red flag flies. Now, crucially, the result goes back 1 lap in the instance of a red flag. So I think Zelos might actually end up the winner here, because Harrison got past him, but then the red flag came out straight away. Thankfully, everyone seems okay in this incident. Oh, it's Callum Newsham, not Jack Davidson, the 3rd car involved. Callum Newsham also out. How on earth they got there, we know not. But there you can see 3 disconsolate drivers trudging away through the gravel. But what a dramatic end to the race. And I do think that will be the end of the race, because we've got less than 5 minutes to go. So we've gone past 3/4 race distance. And it looks as though that will probably be it. But, well, drama aplenty. I promised you an entertaining start to the day, and that's exactly what we got. But for Tanzilos, this might actually have been a perfectly timed red flag, because, as I said, the rule is that the result goes back 1 lap in the instance of a red flag. So Harrison, although he's ahead now, did not lead for a full lap. He only led for about half a lap before the red flag came out. James Gornall is still 5th, is he? Yes. So James Gornall didn't improve at all towards the end either. And the cars are being brought into the pit lane, so I do suspect that is the confirmation we were waiting for, that is the end of the race. What a race it was. Nathan Harrison will not be best pleased. He could have done with the maximum points for winning the race. But in the end, it looks as though he will be denied because of other people's issues at Paddock Hill Bend. Yes, checkered flag now confirmed on my timing screen, so that is it. And Tanzilos, provisionally, is your race winner. His first victory of the season. And that is very, very handy as far as his championship is concerned. He scores a maximum 56 points as well from that race, so he will now go on to 504 points, I reckon. Whilst Harrison in 2nd scores 44 points plus an extra 5, I think, so that's 49 that he gets. Drivers still sat in their cars. There's a little confusion, I think, as to exactly who won that race. Nathan Harrison will be a little disappointed, but there is Dan Zelos, who is very reserved as he gets out of the car. Probably not the way that he wanted to win the race, in fairness. And the first thing he does is goes and shakes the hand of Nathan Harrison, and there's a lot of respect there between the two of them. Zelos knows that wasn't the ideal way to win a race, but hey, you take the wins when you can, especially when it's your first one. And what a time to do it as well. Dan Zelos really starting to find some form now. That is his 7th consecutive podium finish. For Nathan Harrison, he was on a similar run. He'd had 5 consecutive podiums until race 3 a couple of weeks ago here at the Brands Hatch Mini Festival on the Indy circuit, where he finished 4th, which was far from a disastrous result. Back to my points calculations then. So 49 points for Nathan Harrison puts him on onto 564. So he is still 60 points clear, by my reckoning, of Dan Zelos. Gornall, meanwhile, in 5th. So 5th position scores you 34 points. And did Gornall manage to salvage any bonus points for fastest lap? His fastest lap was a 38.0, so no, I don't think he did. So just the 34 points. added to his 4.94 that he had going into the race, puts him on 5.28. So the new, it's the same order, but it's now 5.64 for Harrison, 5.28 for Gornall, and 5.04 for Zelos. The top three now covered by 60 points, which sounds like a lot, but when you consider, as I said, there are 50 points available for a race win, plus all of these bonus points you get for fastest laps and whatnot, and all of a sudden, Dan Zelos is definitely starting to become a genuine title threat. This may well turn into a fairly lengthy clean-up operation down at Paddock Hill Bend. In the meantime, let's check out some of the highlights then. Dan Zelos started from pole position and won the race, but it was far from as simple as that would suggest. It was a good start from all of the front runners, though, no real changes. The early mover was James McIntyre, who went round the outside of everybody into Paddock Hill Bend and was briefly challenging for third position in the first sequence of corners. For James Gornall, though, it was going horribly wrong. He was losing places hand over fist, dropping down to about 6th or 7th place at one stage. Whilst behind, there was the usual close-quartered racing on the first lap, and things remained close for much of the race. James Gornall then didn't get a good start to the race. He and James McIntyre went wheel to wheel down Pilgrim's Drop before James McIntyre lost the position and then lost control at Sheen Curve, dipped a wheel onto the grass and spun himself out of the race into the Sheen Curve gravel trap. There was also contact between Stuart Gibbs and Will Hardy, the latter ending up beached in the gravel at Paddock, and a combination of the two cars off the road meant that the safety car was scrambled for the first time today. After 2 or 3 laps behind the pace car, though, we were able to get a little more racing in before the race came to a premature end. It was a good restart by Dan Zelos. He left Nathan Harrison behind, but Nathan immediately started to eat into that advantage. There was then drama, though, at Paddock Hill Bend. 3 cars off Callum Newsham, Josh Stanton and Brad Hutchison all ended up off the road and out of the race, and that necessitated a red flag. In the meantime, Nathan Harrison had got himself ahead of Dan Zelos after a mistake at Paddock Hill Bend, but because the result goes back 1 lap when the red flag comes out, he does not get to keep the race victory. That, everyone, was your first mini challenge race of the day, and the good news is we get to do that all over again later on this afternoon. Dan Zelos then confirmed as the winner, Nathan Harrison second, Lee Patterson on the podium for the first time this year. That's more like it for Lee. Harry Gooding is 4th, James Gornall 5th, and loses some ground in the championship as a result, with Ben Palmer with a cracking drive from 12th on the grid, finished in 6th place. Rory Cuff is 7th, then it's Callum Newsham with Jack Davidson and James Lukes running out the top 10. So, podium presentation underway then, and Dan Zelos gets his first victory of the year. He really doesn't look happy about that, does he? I'm sure he's ecstatic inside, but as I made the point, it's not the way you want to win a race, really, on count back after a red flag, and he'll be frustrated with himself that he succumbed to the pressure from Harrison and made the mistake, but he does get, well, 2 trophies, actually, for his trouble. Dan Zelos, then, the winner for the first time this season. It took him until the first race at Snetton to get his first podium, but that was the first then of now 8 podium finishes this year. Only Nathan Harrison and James Gornall have more than him, so therefore not really a huge surprise that they're the 3 that are fighting for the title. Great to see Lee Patterson up there, though. Lee Patterson, very experienced driver. Oh, the grid reversal, by the look on Dan Zelos' face, is not that favourable. It is 10, the largest grid reversal possible for the second race this is. The grid is partially reversed based upon the result of that race, so the race winner has to start, in this case, 10th place on the grid for race 2 later on. So the chances of Dan Zelos doubling up are perhaps a little slim. And that will mean that provisionally James Lukes ends up on pole position. So James Lukes, who salvaged 10th place after that gravelly moment at Clearways, actually that worked out okay. He will end up on pole position for race 2. Race number 2 then will be at 25 minutes past 5 there or thereabouts this afternoon. Be sure to join us because it's sure to be another thriller. For now though, all of the action for the mini challenge is done, and a debut victory for Dan Zelos.